Your favorite case just got smaller. EVGA is proud to announce their all-new XR1 OBS certified 4K capture card. Record at 1080p 60 while you game at 4K 60 with HDR, with advanced pass-through mode that allows you to switch to 144Hz refresh rate at the press of a button, meaning no longer do you need to disconnect or disable to get the full capabilities of your display. To see the full list of capabilities and configurations, click the EVGA link in the description below. You know, I've mentioned this a million times in our React series, the dynamic, or the O11 Dynamic is the most trendy and overused case, in my opinion. But I guess that's without good reason, or with good reason, for good reason. Yeah, I mean, it's a very well thought out case. It's inexpensive given its level of build quality. So much of the work is like thought out for you, and well, they made a smaller one. So you know, they've got the XL. I think Kyle did a build in that, where his Prometheus or whatever. There's the standard size one, which I did a build for my daughter in, and now there's the mini. Now this mini here, it's technically a limited edition. They call it the Snow Edition, and I think that's just where there would have been like black accents. It's all white. So we are gonna go ahead and take a look at this case. I know I'm a little late to the party. There was some other stuff that was supposed to come with this case from Lian Li that got pushed back. Another launch that's not ready. So it means I'm the last one to cover the case, but whatever. Better late than never, I always say. All right, so the Mini, unlike its name, is not an ITX form factor case. Wait, this is ITX. What's it supposed to be? Wait, no, it's got overhang. Okay, that's right, it's different. So this is the Snow Edition here. What makes it the Snow Edition is the fact that it's got these bare aluminum colored thumb screws here. It's got the white frame around the window instead of the black. It's got the gray grommets instead of the black. And I think that's about it. Just like the previous one, the glass is held on by the top panel. So now that that's off, we can slide the glass up. There's the glass, and like I showed you, it's got the white frame around it, which is what makes it Snow Edition. Here is our white fan filter thingamabobber. And then on the back, again, silver captive thumb screws. It's gonna essentially just be exactly like the Dynamic, the standard O11, except smaller. And as you can see here though, our power supply is going to be of the SFX variety. So in terms of mounting, you can fit, it looks like 3 120s at the top and possibly a 360 rad. We'll take a look at a second here. It does fit a 240 or a 280 on the back right here. And then there's no intake on the front. You do have also intakes available on the bottom. Now, if there's anything you guys have learned with AIO videos that we've done lately, you should not put an AIO on the bottom of this, because that would mean the only place the pump could be is above it, which would be bad. So if you're doing a custom loop, you can do a rad on the bottom and a rad at the top, because your pump and your res will be somewhere in the middle, allowing the reservoir to capture air, not your radiators or your pump. So that's what it essentially looks like torn down. We have the same little crossbar in the back that you have on the full-size case, which this was pretty awesome on the full-size case, because we, on my daughter's build, ended up doing a Corsair RGB fans. And what that allowed us to do was to put the Commander Pro and everything on the back side of this and hide all the wires. I don't understand why we have a thumb captive screw up there, but not one down here. I guess to clear the side panel, so that kind of makes that pointless. This is also gonna be for our drive cages right here, because it can fit 2.5 and 3.5 inch drives. So as you can see right there, there's a sled, so that you can sled them in and out. Leave that in there for the time being. Power supply goes on the top side right there, and a fairly decent amount of room here for cables and stuff. So if you go with the full-size ATX motherboard, this is an extension bracket to give you something to actually mount them to. So you would screw that down, and then you would be able to actually install your motherboard on here and have something to screw onto. Now the pump brackets are pretty neat, because you got a few different kinds here that you can use. This is a standalone pump bracket that would work, well, they give you kind of the standard mounting holes, whether it be DDC or a D5, depending on the type of D5 pump that you've got. You see you got these 2 holes here and this 1 offset. So if we look inside the chassis right here in the front, if you're not using the distro plate that you can get for this, you could just mount this guy. There's these 2 holes here and the 1 right there. You can see these line up with that. So you could mount that down right there. So mount your pump to this and then mount that down, and now you have a place to put your pump specifically. Or you can use this one that's a riser. I'm not sure exactly why, but you can rise it up and then mount this to those same holes, except these 2 here, you'd mount them to those 2 right there in that one, and then you get some adjustability left and right along those oblong holes. So there's that one. Then there's this guy here. So this is intended to mount to your radiator or your fan. This is the same mounting mechanism that as you see on those other 2 brackets with the same holes. So they go into this spot right here. And then you've got these 2 holes right there. That's also a little bit oblong, so you'd be able to slide it. I guess on that one, you can't actually slide it. It's got to go right there. So it gives you a place to mount your pump to, and then this can mount down to your radiator, like right there. And see how that offsets it, so it's not like right against the glass, although it looks like you could technically do that too. So the cool thing is that they give you these 3 or 4 different ways of doing it. That way, depending on your hardware that you go with, you could still make it look nice and neat. Now, the cleanest way to do a water-cooled build inside of any dynamic case is obviously going to be go with the distro plates that are available, whether it be the rear one that goes right here or the front one that goes right here. Now, my daughter's build, we chose to use the distro plate that goes right back here from EK, and then we have the radiator on the top, and then just fans along the bottom. I still feel like this case would be quite a bit too large for an ITX motherboard. I think there's other chassis out there if you're gonna go ITX, especially considering the fact that you could fit ATX in here, as well as a lot of these other components that we're talking about. And I like that all the screws that come with it, look at this, they're all like a beautiful machined color and some black screws there. So that's kind of nice. So let's go ahead and get this piece mounted down. So I guess having this part out does make it a little easier to get your motherboard and stuff in there. So this is the Prime motherboard from Asus, but it's the 30th anniversary edition, which has this nice white and black. So I thought that would actually look really good in here. So there's a full ATX X299 motherboard in there. You can see how it overhangs, but it's plenty rigid. Holy crap. Yeah, the overhang's kind of nice. So I feel like that gives you a nice way to hide some of your cables there. Throw some white RAM in there, throw some white Unifans, you know, because you can just go out and buy a white Unifans. I don't feel like this, I don't think you should do an ITX build in this. I really, really don't. So the reason why they have these is because you can do like 5, 7, or 9. So there's 3 already that's gonna be a part of this no matter what. Even if you're using an ATX motherboard, because you can still put a 3-slot card on an ITX motherboard. I said ATX a second ago. And so what that allows you to be able to do is still have a 3-slot, but then you can choose to be like, okay, well, I'm only gonna use those, so then I'm gonna put these on, right? These are just blockouts at that point. Or I'm using ATX motherboard, and then you only use one of them. And then you can use this cover for the other ones, or you can use all of them. And I put that back on wrong because there's actually tabs that have to go in there. First, I wasn't quite sold on this whole idea of this piece removing, but now I am, because I was able to reach in there and get the screws on for the motherboard really easy. Come on, get in there! There! Yay! I did it! As I was saying, if we were doing an ITX motherboard, then you would use these 2 block-off plates to make it so that you don't have to see blank IO shields so that nothing, don't get used. So there's that. Since we are using a full ATX motherboard, obviously all of these will go back on there. Can I get this one back in though?
But you have to do the bottom one first.
You have to do the bottom one first. There. I like the idea of it being a smaller chassis like this. Because you know what's funny? This isn't much bigger than like an NZXT H210. It's really not. In fact, I wish I had one hanging around, but I don't. It's not that much bigger, but it's a full ATX build. The only thing you're gonna be kind of limited to is the power output that you can get with an SFX power supply. Now they're getting more powerful. I think I've seen 850 watt now, which you're gonna need if you wanna put like a 3090 or something in here. So, yeah, it's funny. Everything looks so beautiful, and then like this card is yellow. Ooh. dirty. Dang, I almost feel like I wouldn't put this card in there now just because with how white everything else is, it's become really obvious that this card is like off-white. It's like eggshell. But that's okay. We're not doing the actual build today. If we're doing a build in this at all, because I don't even know how big of an SFX power supply I have. And I thought about putting a 3090 in here. Oh yeah, and it has a bottom fan filter right there, as you can see, which just snaps in there literally. And then if you're using intake fans, that would keep some of the dust out. But this is not a full build today. I just wanted to sort of unbox it, have a look, kind of let it sort of stir around in my brain stew for a little bit. That way I can decide what I want to do with this build. Yeah, so I had to kind of take it apart and see what it was capable of. I do like seeing these brackets here as an avid water cooler. I like seeing, I think that's the part that people really sort of struggle with is where to put their pumps. And considering the fact that you have options that are built in without necessarily requiring you to go with the big old distribution plate or a closed loop, this is sort of thought out for you. And that offset actually works really well because that would put it kind of over here, the motherboard area. So anyway, there you go. First look, at least on our channel, late to the party as I've said before, for the 011 Dynamic Mini. What would you guys put in this build? Would you go with an ATX? Would you go with EATX and just say screw it and let it hang way off the side? Would you go with EATX and let it go like all the way over here? Anything fits if you have a Dremel. All right guys, thanks for watching. And as always, we'll see you in the next one. Oh, and all the buttons are on the top.